46-foot tall boat was sailing near the coast of Spain. And on its crew was a girl called Victoria Morris. Victoria was a biology graduate. She loved the ocean and she often taught sailing in New Zealand. Victoria had sailed a lot of times on the high seas and had plenty of very friendly encounters with marine creatures. So on this trip, as she was aboard this boat, she spotted a group of 9 killer whales, or orcas as some people call them, and they came swimming very close to her boat. She had met plenty of orcas on her sailing trips before, but this time the orcas were in no mood to return her smiles. They quickly surrounded her boat, rammed the hull and spun her boat nearly 180 degrees. The killer whales kept smashing under the boat and broke the rudder into pieces. Victoria and her fellow mates were obviously quite scared, and they tried to radio the Coast Guard. They sent a message, "Orca attack, please help." And they also prepared to get into a lifeboat, so they all grabbed a bag because they felt that the orcas were trying to attack them and overturn the boat. And all this while, the orcas were communicating with each other using these songs and loud whistles, which kept echoing under the ocean water all around them. To the crew members on the boat, the sound was almost deafening. The Coast Guard, who had received this radio message, was bewildered. And he messaged back, "Did you say orca attack? Really?" The Coast Guards near Spain and Portugal had never heard of killer whales attacking anybody on a ship or a boat before. They found this message bizarre or highly unusual at the least. So they took their sweet time and they reached Victoria's boat about an hour and a half later. But by this time the killer whales had left the boat and they were probably bored and tired after all the ramming. And the ship was intact. Of course, the rudder had been broken and the crew members were still safe aboard the ship. And once the Coast Guard came, they were able to tow the boat safely to a port nearby. And this story took place on the 29th of July 2020. Following this, there have been more than a dozen attacks in the past 3 years near the coast of Spain. And funnily, in each of these instances, the killer whales have never attacked the people aboard these ships or boats. Even when these people were scared for their lives and got into lifeboats and rowed away, the killer whales never went anywhere near them. It was always the boats and the rudders under them that seemed to attract the killer whales' curiosity. Are you intrigued to find out why these orcas have started ramming boats and ships?
Oh, totally.
That's what we'll find out in this episode of What's New Today, a podcast about current events through the perspective of children. This is your host Sangeeta from India, and in this episode I'm joined by...
Hi, my name is Adya and I'm 11 years old and I'm from India too.
Adya, this is an episode about marine creatures. Do you have a favorite?
Dolphins, but I like pretty much all types of creatures. Well, except fish, they kind of freak me out with their eyes.
The fish freak you out with their eyes.
Well, yeah, it's because they can't close their eyes, so it's so weird to look at something that just keeps staring at you. Ooh, I just remembered. Ducks sleep with one eye open to watch for predators. Cool fun fact.
That's a very interesting fun fact. I didn't know that ducks slept with an eye closed. Oh, and on that note, very quick announcement to all our listeners. I love such cool fun facts, and like the story that I was just narrating, I keep reading up many such interesting stories. And I write a newsletter where I collate all these fun facts, riddles, and stories, and I share them with children and families. If any of you would like to get your free copy, you can find a link below to subscribe to these newsletters. Now, on to this episode, which is about orcas. You know that some people do call orcas killer whales, right?
Yeah.
How do you think they got the name killer whales?
There's a legend that a bunch of sailors got attacked by a gigantic killer monster, and then a group of orcas attacked this monster and saved the sailors. So, in honor of the orcas' actions, the sailors named them killer whales.
Ooh, was that something you came up with from your own imagination?
No, I heard it from ChatGPT.
Do you know that ChatGPT sometimes make things up?
Oh, I know that it's ChatGPT's greatest talent.
Imagining.
Yep.
Alright, but you know what? I think this time ChatGPT got it nearly right. So the legend goes that in ancient times, a lot of sailors, when they went out into the sea, saw groups of orcas, a pod of orcas. Orcas are like dolphins, right? So they were chasing a whale. And the group of orcas got together, hunted the whale, and they were able to kill a whale. So they gave it the name whale killer. But over a period of time, somehow the two words got inverted, and now an orca is called a killer whale.
That's like super interesting.
Adya, if you remember the story that I was narrating earlier about this 46-foot tall boat in Spain that got attacked by a group of orcas, when you read about this news story, and I know you did your own research, what did you find out as the possible reasons for the orcas to attack boats?
I read and found out about two reasons. The first is that a fishing boat was fishing when it hit an orca on the head. There was no serious injury, but like the orca's pride was wounded, so it gathered a team of orcas and trained them to attack and ram ships' rudders to stop them from being able to move. And since then, all the orcas seem to be taking revenge on every passing ship. The second reason is that they may just be playing. Like the children may think that ramming rudders or ships is like playing football, or maybe more like kabaddi for us.
Oh, you mean the older orca has discovered a wonderful new game for all the younger orcas to get together and play?
Exactly.
Okay, now between the two, which one do you think is the real reason why these orcas seem to be attacking the ships?
I think it's the playing idea, because if they wanted revenge, why would they have waited till 2020 to take revenge? Because a lot of orcas have been attacked before in the early ages when people hunted and killed animals like orcas and sharks. And orcas are highly intelligent creatures. They could have done it anytime they'd wanted to before.
Wonderful. So that leaves all our listeners thinking of our friendly orcas as benevolent and nice creatures who just seem to have found a great degree of fascination for rudders of boats and ships like a baseball or a football. On that very interesting note, how about we move to the What's New Today riddle section?
Okay, so here's the riddle. There are different types of stones available. However, there is one stone you cannot find in the ocean, and I mean cannot. It literally cannot be found in the ocean. What is this stone?
Granite? I mean, is that a boring answer?
No, I mean, it's not a boring answer, but it's not granite either.
Okay, so what's the correct answer?
A dry stone.
I love that. Okay, on that note, we move to the What's New Today quiz section. So, in every episode, I usually ask 3 questions based on what we just discussed, so we can find out if our listeners were paying close attention to what we were talking about. So, here's my first question. Or do you want to ask questions?
You ask.
Okay. Question 1. Orcas belong to which family of marine creatures?
Dolphins.
Second question is a true or false question. Orcas are one of the smartest creatures living in the oceans. True or false?
True.
And the last question, how do orcas communicate with each other?
They communicate the same way dolphins do, that is, by whistling and singing. So, on this note, I'd like to ask our listeners a question. Do you think that orcas are taking revenge on our ships, or do you think they're just having fun ramming the boats?
Oh, we'd love to hear your answer about what you think. If you're listening to this episode on Spotify, and if you just scroll down below the show notes, you'll find the question and a reply button right there where you can write to us and tell Adya and I what you think. Or if you're not listening to this on Spotify, I'd love to hear from you via email. Please do send us your answer at hello@wsnt.in. That brings us to the end of this episode. I really hope you all enjoyed the stories and all the fun facts and riddles. New episodes on current events related to wildlife, sports, movies, countries and wars, and a lot of interesting conversations with children can be heard on What's New Today every Monday and Friday. Thanks for listening.